It's Market Watch Monday. Market Watch Monday. Market Watch Monday. Welcome back, One Piece gamers, and happy holidays as we're closing in on the end of 2022 and the end of the first month of One Piece. And what a ride it has been. No? Am I crazy? Well, with that being said, I want to give you guys a couple of the big winners from last week who I still think can continue to win and what's kind of going on in this wacky market. So a lot of it has stayed around relatively the same. The Zoros, the Namis, the Shanks, the box prices vary, roughly plus or minus $50. These starter decks are just mamma mia. These cards really haven't moved too much, but what I do want to finally say that has become more accessible to you collectors. Thank you guys for talking to me about in the comments why these winter cards were so prized. Now, I understand it. I always thought that there was a collector's aspect to it, but I've never really, since coming back from a Digi, a Yu-Gi-Oh, any other card game background, I know that there's collectors, Pokemon, but I never expected so many collectors from One Piece driving the prices up. And because of that, you have here winner Yamatos, winner Luffy's. Basically, any single winner card is just casually $50 plus, except this Luffy, unfortunately. Maybe it's because of the art or its effect. I really don't know what it is. But it seems like all the winner cards are finally at a much more reasonable price of 50 USD, as opposed to last week's like 190 USD. Again, as more of these come out in the market, I understand that there's a collector's market for this, but sometimes waiting is best. If you want the cards now and the money doesn't matter, it is what it is. But as more and more of these flow into the market, as tournaments go running in stores, in-store championships and things like that, case tournaments, whatever's firing, they're just going to be more and more of these available in the market. And people are just going to continue to undercut each other until these cards are roughly where they should be, in between $40 to $50, in my opinion. Why Yamato is number one? I legitimately have no idea. That's the next question for you guys in the comments. Why is Yamato the most expensive one? Why is it not Luffy? Not only is he more playable, he is the main character of the show. He is the main character. Let's not argue it. And yet Yamato still sits, not by much, but on average, a little bit higher. I can understand the law being quite close because these are some of the more playable cards. And the Kaido, being one of the favorite villains, has kind of dropped to being the cheapest one, which is pretty weird, being probably the most playable. But we'll get to my opinions for next week as we continue on in this video. So let's talk about the big wins of this week. Hey, we talked about it. I'm glad. If you guys were able to watch the video and pick yours up for around $30, glad I was able to help you out there. Yeah, we did expect a huge jump from this card as we start to see more and more people understand that this is probably our only control deck, or close to what a control deck seems to be in the first meta of One Piece, or its first iteration. So as you see, we were here about a week ago, and now we're here. It just skyrocketed. And maybe you might say, well, you're dumb, those values are fake. I don't think they're fake, man. I do not think they're fake. I don't know where this card capped. Maybe it was this almost $80 that was the exact top, but this card is unbelievably good. It is beautiful, it's fantastic, amazing, no more adjectives. I think a $70 price point is really fair, and if you were able to get in on this, let's do it. That's what the market watch is for, man. Then we have Eustace Captain Kidd sitting at $40. The closer and closer we get to these cups, the higher this card is going to go. I don't want to emphasize it more than I should. I'm pretty sure everyone at this point is aware that Eustace Captain Kidd is a big problem. And therefore, it does, in my opinion, it doesn't merit this price total. The argument being, since it's not a 4 of in your deck, very rarely is it a 4 of. If it's a 4 of, you are snapped. But it is definitely a necessity of 2 to 3 in the quantity, depending on the type of deck that you're playing. If you're playing mono green, this is sitting at probably 3 to 4. If you're playing a green variation in terms of Law or a Luffy, this is a 2 to 3, 1, 2, 3 possibly. So it just depends on your build. No matter how you cut it, how you slice this cheese, this card is almost on average always at 2 of in your deck, no matter what green splash you're playing, and is possibly the best top end in the entire game. With that being said, why is it $40? I'm not really sure. Now, Trafalgar Law, if we go back over here, we notice that, let's go back to the first page. If we go to Trafalgar Law, this is a card. Again, he is a very cool character, beloved character. That's not to say Eustace Captain Kidd isn't. But this card reached all the way to $90. Now, this card is more of a 3 to 4 in most green decks, but that's very similar to what Captain Kidd is. And if you're going to sit here and tell me this card didn't reach $90, we had some moments. I don't really want to go too far back, but it did at some point hit maybe... Oh, here we go. There you go. Yeah. This card is snapped. It's beautiful. The Eustace Captain Kidd, you might argue to yourself, it's not as nice looking. You might not need as much, but that's all cope. This card is one of the best cards in the game, a defining characteristics of Romance Dawn in terms of competitive power. And because of that, I still think this card has room to grow. Although he has been climbing, I don't think a $10 climb is sufficient. I mean, technically there's a 33% increase. I still think 33% is too low for this card. And as the treasure cups get closer and closer, I don't want you guys to be left out when this card shoots up. If it doesn't perform well, then I was wrong, and many people were wrong, and it'll go down. But I'm going to err on the fact that I think this is one of the most powerful cards in the game. Even if you might not be losing to Kidd in your locals, be prepared to see some amount of this card in your competitive tournament runs. Shanks. It went up a little. We did it. 10%. Let's go. I think we finally reached the bottom of what Shanks can be. $30. The more and more I play this card, the more I'm in love with it. It's really, really solid in red, man. Again, not searchable. Because if it's not searchable, you have to play increased numbers. If you really want to see it in your decks, you're playing like 1 or 2, then you have to fit in 4 Gordons to accommodate for it. But I've been doing all of these things. It kind of just proves to me that this card is more and more playable. Being an alt art of a secret of a beloved character with that beautiful Jolly Roger. I still think that 33 might be too low. Although we have been correct in assessing that 30 was probably the bottom. It has just a little bit more to grow, but not as much as I believe Captain Kidd. If you have been excited to grab this card, $30 seems to be a fair amount. And it is true. It is true. The one thing that let me not overhype this card. It is true. The longevity of this card, I really don't think it's there. In the next set, we do get a 9-drop red secret in the form of a Whitebeard. Oof, that guy's freaking dope. And he's almost always a 4 of in the Zoro deck. So that card is really going to test the metal of what a alt-art secret should cost if it is played at high counts in your deck. I'm really excited to see what that one can be. If Yamato is sitting... Ooh. If Yamato, which doesn't see much play, is sitting at $80, I am excited to see what Whitebeard himself can accomplish. Crocodile, we stay winning, guys. If you were able to grab this card, I think I mentioned him at $17, you almost 100%ed it on it. And there was a point in time where this was just shooting up beyond. This card is amazing. I cannot continue to I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I'm glad if you guys were watching last week's market watch, we've got a clear winner here. Congratulations. Let's keep going. Let's keep seeing where the market can possibly go. And on the same coin, Jack. And now those are good percentages. I think I was talking about this card at $10 to $13, and at its high point, I think I saw this card hit $40. No joke. I'm gonna go further back. I swear I saw this card at $40, unless I'm snapped. It looks like I'm snapped. No one bought it for $40, but it did hit the 30s, and it seems to be steadily at the 30s. This card, I cannot express enough how good this card is. But if you guys were able to pick it up on last week's market watch, another big winner for last week. And here are going to be the cards that I'm going to be promoting for this week, what I think are the new winners. This Kaido. This Kaido is probably next to the Luffy, and the Luffy is arguably not too playable. This card is probably the most playable card in the tournament packs. My buddy Jonathan, once again, labbing it up, made a really interesting deck that really makes this the cornerstone of the deck. And for 8-9, yes, he doesn't have combo power, but you can argue this akin to Kaido. You do have to play other forms of removal, but this card can certainly get there and allows you to keep a lot of advantage. There was a point where he hit a bottom of $10, but I certainly can see this card continuing to reach 16 to 20 to 25 just because of the limited amount of tournament packs available, as well as just how good its effect is. Now, with that same sentence, this is more of a fun deck. We do a little burn, we do a little gaming, but don't overthink or don't overhype this card. I don't think it's anywhere as powerful as what this Jack can do for the deck, but it's certainly pretty cool, and I can see some growth with it in terms of a competitive standpoint. Its limited availability is a plus. It is Kaido, and I think for 16 bucks, it's very rare that you're going to lose some value on this. But once again, if more tournaments start firing, more packs become available, it can go a little cheaper. It just depends on how much product of this tournament pack volume 1 we're going to see. I'm going to be king of the pirates. Why is this card $47? Ladies, gentlemen, pirates, excuse me. What is this? Now, I know, for collectors, this is hardly noticeable damage. What? Oh, goodness. Yeah. That was interesting. Damaged copy for 47. Wow. Okay, so with that being said, this is a promotional card. You get this card, the stores, the LGSs that kind of, you know, support these events by Bandai, they're kind of at liberty to how they want to disperse this card. This card is usually given off as like a participation pack, and I wouldn't be surprised that, similar to Digimon, if Bandai gave this card away in the Treasure Cup for participating in side events, fun play, free play, as something to teach players how to enjoy and play One Piece. It's very good as a tool for that. I always thought that LGSs were going to use this as a learn how to play day, where you have players that know how to play One Piece teach people that are new, and use this as an incentive to give away to people so they can come and learn and enjoy the game. With that being said, this card is not $47. Maybe because of a limited quantity, it's hard to acquire. In terms of competitive playability, it's very, very low. It has an okay trigger. Its effect is subpar, but you might ask yourself, well, it is Luffy, it is green, and it is limited. So because of the collector's value, I can see this holding up, but as more and more printings come in, more and more opportunities come to get this card, I can see it going down. If you've got this card, if you were so lucky enough to get it in a promotional series, I would say now is the time to let it go. And if it truly was meant to be, it will come back to you. Another interesting promotional card, this promotional pack, so interesting. It had such a weird dip last week. I saw it go down maybe like into the 15s, and now it's just shot right back up. I think that's because of mostly what the card brings, and let me go back here and show you exactly what those cards are, so you can just take a quick gander of why that pack is so expensive. Culprit number 1 is, where art thou? Luffy. Yeah, Camilo and I have been messing around with a Luffy deck, and this card is still very, very good. 6-drop, rush, 7k, bada bing, main character energy. Yeah, this card's really solid. It's just solid. And if you count it right here, you have $13 that just comes out of the pack. Then we have that along with Eustace Captain Kid. We have this crocodile for $5. I don't know where the kid is, but the Eustace Captain Kid right over here, sitting at $9. These two cards in and of itself pay for the pack. And then you get bonus cards such as this, plus it, you know, Smell for Adventure. It has a lot of collector promotional cards that are really, really interesting and exclusive. If you sell the cards separately, you get a little bit more of the value, but it's just more difficult to push them. I just think that it's really interesting that this card went back up. And again, this is the promotional pack for 2022 release of the game. I don't believe that this card will continue to be promoted into the future, similar to the film decks. And the film decks is another thing that I would like to talk about. You mostly get these for participating in big tournament and events, but even with those cards, you think to yourself, well, what's good in the film deck? 2 or 3 cards, but those 2 or 3 cards basically pay for the entire film deck in terms of, where are you, Sunikun? $9, 1 card in the pack, and then Trafalgar Law, I think, really holds the rest of the value. The film deck, I have seen it being moved not much here, but on Facebook, eBay, other market availabilities for around $15 to $20. So just by entering these tournaments, you get these promotional packs. You guys want to keep them sealed for yourselves? That's awesome. You want to separate them to get your value? That's also awesome. Once again, this is not financial advice. This is just how you maybe can maximize using the promotions that Bandai has given you to trade for alt arts or for other cards that you might want to add to your collection. So once again, guys, just to round it up, big wins for the Yeehaw gang. I don't know what to call us yet. Someone in the comments, please help me decide what we should be called. The cowboy. No, that's just not it. I had to stop that sentence. But big wins for us last week on these cards, and maybe some big wins in the future. And we really have to see where the marketplace is going. Again, card that I want to iterate more than anything. This card is still has room to grow for me. And that's about it, guys. Thank you once again for joining the last market watch of 2022. See you guys in 2023. Peace.